The moment she entered the publishing office, she was dismissed. Her coat was of frayed wool, her shoes worn, and she held a thick manuscript bound with tape, the pages already yellowing. The receptionist scrutinized her, raising an eyebrow as if detecting an unpleasant odor. "You're here to submit a story? Handwritten?" An editor, with slicked-back hair, barely glanced at the title before laughing. "A boy wizard living under the stairs? This seems like a low-budget Tolkien adaptation." The room erupted in laughter. A staffer even picked up the manuscript, displayed it, and quipped, "Another legend, handwritten, ideal for the recycling bin." Then they threw it directly in front of her. Emily knelt, recovered her manuscript, carefully smoothed a torn corner, and turned away, refusing to lower her head. She offered only a small nod, as if they were the ones being turned down. They simply didn't understand. What they discarded would become a literary phenomenon for an entire generation. And the woman they just mocked would reshape the world. Emily Brooks resided in a small flat above a bustling chip shop in London, a dwelling characterized by the scent of grease, and a radiator that rattled like it was performing for a horror film. She was 31, a single mother to a 6-year-old daughter Lily, who slept on a mattress in the corner while Emily wrote at a shaky kitchen table. Each day began at dawn, balancing toast and crayons for Lily, followed by a quick trip to drop her off at school before going to the cafe close to King's Cross Station. The cafe was a somewhat run-down establishment with greasy food, chipped mugs, and a jukebox that had been broken since the 90s. Despite its appearance, it served as her sanctuary. There, in a corner booth, she would open her notebook and write, her pen creating a world where a boy named Harry Potter lived under a staircase, dreaming of magic. Her attire was unassuming, a pale sweater, a skirt mended at the bottom, shoes so dilapidated that the soles detached during rain. Her dark hair was frequently disheveled, secured with a rubber band, with strands escaping as if possessing a will of their own. She remained indifferent. She wasn't writing to gain recognition. She was writing for Lily, for herself, for the children she observed at the library who possessed only stories to find solace in. The manuscript, Harry Potter and the Glass Owl, represented her deepest emotions, a story of a boy who was overlooked, who discovered magic in a world that disregarded him, who ultimately chose to believe in himself. Each word was meticulously handwritten, each page a testament to her dedication, with pages taped together after the binding failed. Emily submitted it to 12 publishers. She had spent her remaining £20 on postage, carefully wrapping each copy in brown paper, her hands trembling as she closed the envelopes. She hadn't anticipated a positive response, merely an opportunity, but the rejections arrived quickly, each one sharply disappointing. "Do not attempt to write fantasy if you lack understanding of the world," one letter stated, bearing the signature of a senior editor at Crownwell Press, Martin Hale. "A woman writing magic? No thank you," another declared, the words written in red ink by a junior editor named Clara Voss. A note, "This tone belongs in a child's after-school diary, not a bookstore," came from someone at Regent House. It was written by Simon Trent, a literary agent. His name was stamped in gold on the letterhead. Emily read each one quietly, keeping her face calm. Then she put them away in a drawer. She didn't cry. She returned to the cafe and continued writing. While at a local bookshop where Emily occasionally looked at books, she overheard a literary scout from Pinnacle Books, Clara Voss, talking with the owner. "You won't believe the audacity of this woman," Clara stated, her voice laced with disdain. "Some single mom, appearing disheveled, believes she's created wizardry. I instructed my team to discard it to prevent it from consuming more space." The owner laughed, briefly looking at Emily, who was examining a used paperback nearby, oblivious to being discussed. "Likely another sentimental narrative seeking sympathy," he remarked, speaking loudly enough for her to overhear. A customer interjected, a smirk playing on his face. "What's she going to do? Cast a spell to get published?" The others chuckled, glances darting towards Emily's worn skirt and unkempt hair. She remained looking down, her fingers following the book's spine, but the atmosphere shifted, their comments a burden she carried as she returned to her cafe booth. Her pen wavered a little as she wrote, yet she persisted. Her story would be her reply. Emily was seated in her cafe booth on a rainy afternoon, her notebook open, when a group of publishing interns from Regent House entered, their laughter echoing through the space. One noticed her and nudged his friends, saying, "Look, it's the wizard lady, still writing her kitty stories." He approached her, peering at her pages and asking, "What's this, Harry, what's it? Gonna make you rich, huh, love?" His friends laughed, and one mimicked her pen strokes with exaggerated flourishes. "Bet she thinks bookstores are begging for this drivel," another remarked, speaking loud enough for other patrons to hear. A waitress, joining in the derision, placed Emily's coffee down with force, adding, "Dreamers like you clog up the place." The interns quickly took a selfie with her visible in the background and posted it online with the caption, "Hatch Fantasy Fail. Single mom's sad hobby." Emily's hand paused, ink smudging slightly, but her face remained composed, her gaze fixed on the page. The cafe felt smaller, their unkindness a storm she endured quietly, her story her only support. The most difficult experience came from Crownwell Press. Emily had found the strength to hand-deliver her manuscript in person, hoping a direct meeting might influence them. She stood in their modern office, all glass and chrome, holding her pages. Martin Hale, the editor who had rejected her by mail, was present, accompanied by assistants. He glanced at her worn coat and smirked. An unfamiliar woman, appearing like a housewife, who believes she's crafting the next mythology. Absurd. He didn't bother to open the manuscript. Instead, he raised it with 2 fingers, as if it were unclean, and dropped it into a recycling bin. His assistants chuckled, one saying, "Back to the kitchen, love." Emily crouched, recovered her pages, and departed silently. Her quietness wasn't surrender, it was resistance, a pledge to her story. Leaving Crownwell Press, Emily held her manuscript securely. A group of assistants trailed her to the elevator, their laughter bouncing off the hallway walls. One, a young woman wearing a designer scarf, remarked, "Hey housewife, perhaps stick to knitting next time. Writing is best left to the professionals." Another playfully imitated her walk, emphasizing the movement of her worn shoes, while a third took a photograph and shared it online with the caption, "Delusional wannabe attempts to enter the publishing world epic fail." The elevator doors shut, but their laughter persisted, clear and unwavering. Emily stood within, her reflection barely visible on the metallic surfaces, her expression calm but her fingers pressed tightly around her papers. Outside, a person on the sidewalk recognized her from the online post and gestured, saying to a companion, "That's the woman who believed she could create a bestseller." The urban environment appeared to taunt her, each look a reminder of her disappointment. Still, she continued walking, her quietness a defense, her narrative complete. Following the receipt of another rejection notice, Emily went to Pinnacle Books to make her appeal, her manuscript held securely. Clara Voss greeted her in the entrance hall, her red heels striking the floor with a sharp sound. "You again?" Clara said sharply, observing Emily's mended sweater. "I told you nobody desires your small magic story." She summoned coworkers, her tone derisive. "This is the one who believes she's the upcoming sensation, a single mother with a fairy tale." Laughter filled the air. One assistant discarded a crumpled coffee cup towards a bin close to Emily, and smiled when it brushed her arm. "Oops, thought you'd catch it with a spell," he remarked, winking at Clara. A security guard who overheard joined in, saying, "Time to go, lady, don't waste their time." Clara dismissed him with a wave, already turning away. "Stick to raising your kid, not writing flops." She called out, her words reverberating through the lobby with the sound of snickers. Emily departed, her gait resolute, her manuscript intact, yet the impact of their remarks lingered, a chilling dampness. Several months elapsed, and Emily's finances decreased. She reduced her food intake to purchase Lily new shoes, while her own coat became increasingly worn as winter's chill intensified. She was nearing the end of her resources when a letter arrived from Willow Tree Press, a small publisher struggling to stay afloat in a basement office. The owner, Margaret Cole, was direct. "The situation is precarious, your book presents a risk, but I find it promising. We'll print 1,000 copies, conditional on using initials, ensuring anonymity. No one should know the author is a woman." Emily paused, her pen poised over the contract. She was reluctant to conceal her identity, but Lily needed school supplies, and the flat's rent was overdue. She signed as E.J. Brooks. Harry Potter and the Glass Owl was released in June, a subtle distribution in a few London bookshops. The cover was simple, just a drawing of an owl with glass wings, the title in a small font, understated and without promotion. Emily didn't anticipate much. She continued working, taking shifts at a laundromat to make ends meet, writing at the cafe when she had time. However, then something changed. A public school in Leeds sent her a letter, handwritten by a teacher named Ms. Patel. It read, "We read your book to our class. The children haven't stopped discussing Harry. They cried when he found the glass owl. Thank you." Emily clutched the letter, her throat constricted, and placed it with her other rejection notices. When Harry Potter and the Glass Owl was initially released, it was a quiet debut amidst a flurry of well-established titles. However, it quickly gained momentum. A bookshop in Glasgow organized a reading, and children filled the space, captivated as Harry confronted the Shadow Veil. Parents shared accounts of nightly readings, their voices hushed with wonder. "My daughter hadn't engaged with a book in years. Now she refuses to put Harry Potter and the Glass Owl down." By August, London's biggest bookstore saw a line extending out the door, with children holding copies and reciting Harry's spells as if they were a hidden language. A video that became widely shared online featured a boy in Sydney imitating the glass owl's flight, his cardboard wings flapping energetically. News publications described it as a sensation arising unexpectedly. Emily's World, Hogwarts's candlelit halls, the owl's shimmering prophecy, was more than just a story. It provided a sense of belonging for those often disregarded. The book gained widespread recognition, each copy reflecting her unwavering spirit. The audience responded with enthusiastic applause, acknowledging the world's discovery of her. News of the book's popularity quickly circulated. A teacher in Manchester read excerpts aloud, and her students created drawings of Harry's wand, affixing them to their desks. A librarian in Bristol placed an order for 10 additional copies following disputes among children vying for the sole existing copy. A blogger, identified as Katie, a young person, shared a quote online. "The boy who wasn't chosen, chose himself." It received 100 likes, then 1,000, then 10,000. By September, bookshops were unable to maintain sufficient inventory. Parents described it as magical. Children claimed it as their own. A photograph circulated widely online, depicting a girl in a hospital bed, clutching Harry Potter, smiling for the first time in weeks. Emily viewed it on a library computer and wiped her eyes, her heart full. By autumn, Harry Potter and the Glass Owl was no longer simply a book, it was a cultural phenomenon. Schools throughout Britain designated it required reading. Researchers observed a remarkable shift. Children who previously showed little interest in reading eagerly finished Harry's story. A Paris library reported wait lists extending for months, with teenagers drawing the glass owl in their notebooks. In Chicago, a community center hosted a themed event, where families dressed as wizards, their laughter resonating through the streets. Social media platforms were filled with shared quotes. "The boy who was not initially selected ultimately asserted himself." Artwork appeared on bedroom walls, and phrases were permanently marked on wrists. A Tokyo newsstand sold out within hours. The clerk remarked, "It's like Harry is real." Emily's narrative had cast a spell, its influence extending across borders, giving a voice to those who were unheard. Bookstores requested additional printings, their shelves emptied, as readers sent a large number of letters to Willow Tree Press. Demands for more Harry were constant. The world wasn't simply reading, it was experiencing her dream, and the audience felt each triumph personally. 3 months following its release, the book became incredibly popular. It reached the bestseller lists initially in the UK, then in America and subsequently in Japan. News outlets proclaimed headlines, with considerable intrigue surrounding author E.J. Brooks's reimagining of fantasy. Bookstores experienced sellout conditions, placing reprint orders numbering in the thousands. Willow Tree Press, rescued from bankruptcy, relocated to a more suitable office. Margaret Cole contacted Emily, her voice trembling, stating, "We're printing 1 million copies." 1 million? Who are you? Emily chuckled quietly, still wearing her worn coat, replying, "Just a mom who enjoys telling stories." As winter approached, Harry Potter and the Glass Owl became a source of hope. Marketers and deli shops organized midnight releases, with children chanting Harry's name under lantern light. A Brazilian orphanage shared a story of children pooling coins to purchase a shared copy, reading by flashlight after curfew. Numerous fan letters were sent to Willow Tree Press, including drawings of Hogwarts, poems about the Glass Owl, and stories of overcoming bullies, inspired by Harry. A London theater adapted the story, selling out weeks in advance, with the audience weeping as Harry's wand lit the stage. Critics who initially dismissed the work now acknowledged its merit, with one reviewer stating that Brooks had created a myth possessing an enduring quality. The book's impact extended beyond the written word, inspiring bravery and igniting imaginations. From Moscow to Mexico City, readers displayed owl pins, a subtle reference to Emily's universe. Her narrative overcame skepticism, its popularity a recognition she did not actively pursue, and the audience reveled in its brilliance. The National Literary Gala, the publishing world's equivalent of the Oscars, took place at the Savoy Hotel, filled with crystal chandeliers and formal black tie attire. Emily received an invitation, not as a typical attendee, but as the guest of honor. She nearly declined to attend. Lily was suffering from a cold, and the train ticket to central London was costly, but Margaret urged her to go, sending a ticket and a note that read, "You deserve this." Emily chose to wear a plain linen dress, pale blue in color, which she had purchased from a charity shop for $5. The shoes were the familiar, well-worn pair, her hair loose and slightly disheveled. She carried her notebook, prepared for any sudden inspiration during the train ride. The gala presented a spectacle of tailored suits and glittering gowns, the atmosphere heavy with champagne and self-importance. Emily entered discreetly, her invitation clutched firmly, initially unnoticed by the attendees. She positioned herself near a pillar, observing editors and agents exchange greetings, their laughter reminiscent of the Crownwell office. Martin Hale was present, networking while holding a glass of whiskey, his slicked-back hair reflecting the light. Clara Voss, representing Pinnacle Books, commanded attention in a red dress, casually dismissing a waiter with a gesture. Simon Trent, the Regent House agent, spoke proudly of his newest acquisition, his voice audible above the general conversation. They did not notice Emily as she passed, her linen dress seeming understated amidst their elegant attire. She greeted several publishers with a handshake, her grip steady but kind. Martin Hale casually touched her hand, his gaze already searching for someone of greater significance. He offered a greeting, stating, "Nice to meet you," without inquiring about her name, and concluded with, "Enjoy the evening." Clara Voss responded with a strained smile, quietly remarking to an assistant, "Who's that? Some blogger?" Simon Trent remained engrossed in his phone, not acknowledging her at all. Emily offered a courteous nod, her expression calm, and proceeded. She didn't require their validation. She had come for the children who adored Harry, for Lily, for the narrative that continued to endure. A palpable excitement filled the room as the host, a BBC presenter known for his smooth delivery, stepped onto the stage. "Tonight, we celebrate the literary world's most accomplished talents," he began, his smile radiant. But he continued, noting that one name had eclipsed all others. A debut novel, published under initials, had resonated with readers worldwide. It had revolutionized storytelling, provided children with a role model, and rescued a publisher from financial hardship. The audience shifted expectantly, murmuring, "Could it possibly be E.J. Brooks? Here?" Martin Hale straightened his tie, a smirk directed at Clara Voss. "Likely an Oxbridge graduate pretending to be modest," he remarked. Clara acknowledged him with a roll of her eyes. The host's voice increased in volume. "Please welcome the author of the decade's best-selling novel, the woman who created an entire world for millions of children, Emily Brooks." The ballroom became still. Glasses tapped, breathing paused. Emily advanced, her linen dress reflecting the light, her well-worn shoes making no sound on the polished floor. Strands of hair remained tangled, and her notebook was held beneath her arm. Yet, her eyes, steady, warm, and resolute, commanded the attention of everyone present. She ascended the stage, each step carefully placed, as if Hogwarts itself provided support. Martin Hale's whiskey spilled from his hand, staining his shoes. Clara Voss's red dress appeared to constrict, her face losing color. Simon Trent's phone fell onto the table, his earlier claim overlooked. The audience was quiet, a multitude of astonished expressions as Emily arrived at the podium. She placed her notebook down, her fingers lightly touching the aged cover, and gazed out at the room. When she spoke, her voice was distinct and measured, resembling an incantation being spoken. You dismissed the story before you proceeded to the next page. Now the entire world is reading it. The room fell silent. Emily did not elevate her tone, nor did she direct accusations. She found no need to. Her words resonated as undeniable truths, precise and absolute. I wrote Harry Potter and the Glass Owl for my daughter, for children who feel invisible, for anyone who's ever been told they're not enough. You didn't see it, you didn't have to. The children did, they found Harry and he found them. She paused, her gaze sweeping the front row. Martin, Clara, Simon, all frozen. This isn't about me, it's about a boy who chose himself, and the millions who chose him back. As Emily spoke from the gala stage, the crowd's silence broke into murmurs of awe. A children's librarian, positioned towards the rear, was the first to rise, applauding with great enthusiasm. My students read Harry Potter nightly, she exclaimed, her voice filled with emotion. They've begun writing their own stories thanks to you. The room shifted, faces expressing surprise, as others echoed her sentiment. A bookseller who had exhausted their stock in a few hours, and a parent whose previously timid son now embodied Harry's bravery. Emily's narrative had created a world so detailed it felt tangible, Harry's wand flickering under starlight, the glass owl's wings gleaming with mysteries. Her ability wasn't merely proficiency, it was transformation, converting sorrow into optimism. The applause intensified, a surge of admiration, as publishers who had disregarded her now rapidly wrote her name down, recognizing they had overlooked a brilliant talent. Emily remained there, her linen dress a focal point, her understated resilience more impactful than their applause. The applause began gradually, a gentle undulation that built into a powerful surge, shaking the chandeliers. It was more than mere courtesy, it was heartfelt and genuine. Emily moved from the stage, her dress flowing, and returned to her position beside the pillar. Behind the curtain, the gala was filled with discussion of Harry Potter and the Glass Owl. A critic, standing close to the bar, who had previously expressed doubts, confessed, I read it last week and couldn't stop reading it. He continued, the way Harry confronts the Shadow Veil. It's not just a story, it's a reflection for every child who's experienced feelings of isolation. A young author held her signed copy, telling a friend, it's as if Emily understood my childhood, the bullies, the dreams, and transformed them into something magical. The book's world felt vibrant, Hogwarts halls resounding with spells, the Glass Owl's prophecy permeating every page, children in Tokyo dressed as Harry for Halloween, parents in New York reading it aloud, their voices breaking at the conclusion. Its language had initiated book clubs, inspired fan art, and even led to a school play in Dublin. Emily's story resonated deeply, its enchantment touching hearts across the globe. Attendees noticed her near the pillar, transformed from an unknown individual into an author whose writing had reshaped perception. During the gala, while Emily stood by her pillar, the book's reputation intensified. A bookseller confided in a critic, speaking with conviction, I've sold thousands of books, but Harry Potter, it's truly exceptional, children read it as if it were essential. On the other side of the room, a teacher described how her class constructed a cardboard Hogwarts, their faces glowing with pride. Enthusiasts had started a worldwide campaign, Read Like Harry, prompting libraries to increase their fantasy selections for children. Passages from the book, such as Harry's duel with the Frostwraith and the Owl's whispered prophecy, were recited in classrooms, cafes, and even parliaments. A UN delegate confessed it influenced her speech on hope. Emily's impact resonated far beyond recognition. It was a transformative power, redefining perspectives on courage, loss, and love. From Cape Town, readers shared videos, celebrating with dances to Harry's theme, while New York's Times Square displayed the book's cover. The murmurings of the audience shifted to awe, their gaze fixed on Emily, now perceived as a mythmaker in a linen dress, her triumph a shared global victory. The host struggled to proceed, but their words fell on deaf ears. Attention remained on Emily, whispers circulating. Is that her? She's E.J. Brooks? She authored that book? Martin Hale slumped into his chair, his face ashen. Clara Voss held her clutch tightly, her smile vanished. Simon Trent looked at his phone, as if willing the moment to disappear. By morning, the consequences arrived quickly. Crownwell Press, Martin Hale's source of pride, encountered a public relations crisis. Blogs resurrected the recycling bin incident, and readers overwhelmed social media. Crownwell passed on Harry Potter?
Bileyim hale.
The board reduced his position to junior editor, his office relocated to a cubicle. The reputation of Clara Voss's Pinnacle Books suffered a significant blow when a leaked email revealed her No Women note. Authors departed, and her newest fantasy series failed, derisively labeled No Magic Here. Simon Trent's agency experienced a loss of clients following his boast about dismissing Emily's diary entries. His letterhead, embossed in gold, held no value now. His workspace was covered with manuscripts that hadn't sold. The publishing world reacted as Emily's triumph became apparent. Simon Trent, the agent who had previously dismissed Emily's diary entries, observed his agency collapse swiftly. Prominent authors distanced themselves, pointing to his perceived lack of foresight, as bookstores declined to stock his clients' titles, prioritizing displays for Harry Potter. His gold-stamped letterhead became a target for online ridicule, with memes labeling it the man who missed magic. Clara Voss's professional life suffered a dramatic downturn following the viral spread of her No Women email. Pinnacle's share price decreased significantly, leading to her reassignment to editing cookbooks, her red dress now a source of regret. Even Martin Hale's reduction in role caused considerable distress. Rumors circulated among his colleagues regarding his mistake, and his electronic correspondence was flooded with negative feedback from readers. They had discarded Harry. Their pride had resulted in complete loss, their identities now minor references in Emily's celebrated story. Applause erupted as online platforms declared her the sovereign writer who crafted narratives with simplicity and honesty. Emily ignored the commotion. She was at the cafe, working on the next installment, her writing instrument moving while Lily played nearby. Willow Tree Press sent her a royalty payment. The prize provided enough for a larger apartment, a suitable bed for Lily, and a fresh notebook. She remained composed, silent in her triumph, and simply wrote, her story proving more resilient than their criticism. The world embraced Harry Potter, and Emily Brooks, the individual once dismissed as insignificant, evolved into a celebrated figure. This demonstrates the strength of a narrative that refuses to be silenced. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, comment, and subscribe for more content. The moment she entered the boardroom, she drew mocking looks. Her appearance, a crisp white shirt, beige wide-leg trousers, an old laptop, and a neat, half-up hairstyle, seemed to invite derision in a room dominated by Armani suits and Swiss watches, the occupants' gazes sharp and critical. Whispers arose, look at that outfit. Some even joked, someone must have sent the intern from the events team by mistake. They were mistaken, as the woman they had just humiliated was the spouse of the man overseeing a $100 million investment fund, and he had resolved that no money would be allocated to anyone who showed her disrespect. The boardroom at the top of the Sterling Tower shone with authority, with floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing Manhattan's skyline, a polished mahogany table reflecting the morning sun, and air that smelled faintly of leather and ambition. Crystalis Group, a leading force in luxury real estate, had requested architects from across the world to present proposals for their flagship project, a $2 billion eco-resort in the Maldives designed to reimagine sustainable luxury. Executives in tailored suits observed as evaluators, their cufflinks gleaming, their expressions conveying practiced indifference. Tablets displayed spreadsheets, and a large screen stood behind them, ready to showcase presentations that held the potential to significantly impact professional trajectories. Alina Moore entered through the double doors, her beige trousers swaying gently, her white shirt crisp and unadorned. Her dark hair was styled in a neat half-updo, with a few strands framing her face, and her hazel eyes held a quiet intensity. She carried a worn leather portfolio of hand-drawn sketches, an old laptop tucked under her arm, and she was unaccompanied. At 34, she appeared striking, elegant in her simplicity, her beauty like a clear stream cutting through stone. Years ago, her eco-resort concept, a small project in Costa Rica, had attracted attention within the industry, its quiet excellence discussed in design circles. That's why Crystalis had invited her, or so she believed. She placed her portfolio on the table, her actions measured, and offered a composed smile. "Good morning," she stated, her voice clear and even. "I'm Alina Moore, here to present my vision for your resort." The room showed little movement. A man in a charcoal suit, his tie a vibrant crimson, briefly looked up from his phone. Victor Crane, the project director, reclined, his expression wry. "We anticipated a design firm," he stated, his voice resonating, "not a Pinterest freelancer." A wave of laughter, frigid and precise, passed as executives subtly looked at each other. As Alina remained standing at the table, Victor Crane angled himself towards Sylvia Holt, his voice audible throughout the room. He stated, loud enough for everyone to hear, "She's got some nerve, showing up with a laptop older than my car." The executives laughed, their eyes showing their disapproval as they observed her adjusting her sketches. A man wearing a pinstripe suit threw a paper clip toward her portfolio, smiling as it landed on her drawings. "Decorate that," he said to the freelancer, which caused more laughter. Sylvia responded with a smirk, adding, "Maybe she's here to pitch a lemonade stand." Phones snapped pictures of her older laptop, accompanied by cruel whispers. She appeared to be mortifying herself. Alina's fingers hesitated, yet her face remained composed, her composure a sharp contrast to their hostility. Alina's expression remained unchanged. She presented her portfolio, displaying sketches filled with luminosity. Curved roofs, integrated with coral reefs, open-air villas touched by sea breezes. "My work speaks for itself," she stated, pushing a page towards Victor. He made no attempt to view it, his gaze focusing on her attire. "You honestly believe you can make a good impression on international investors dressed like that?" he stated. Sylvia Holt moved closer, her diamond earrings catching the light as she regarded Alina with a look of concern. "Darling, this is a global project," she explained, her voice conveying a sense of disappointment. "You can't simply appear like that." She indicated Alina's trousers, and a ripple of amusement spread around the table. "Did you even attempt to present a professional image?" A woman nearby scoffed, "She's giving garage sale vibes." As others filmed, their phones focused on Alina's flats. Sylvia continued, "We deal with titans, not hobbyists. Save us the slideshow." The room erupted, the applause laced with mockery as Alina opened her laptop, her movements calm, her silence a defense against their criticism. Another executive, a woman named Sylvia Holt with diamonds sparkling at her ears, sighed dramatically. "Let's not waste time, Victor. She's clearly out of her depth." A palpable change filled the room. Their disapproval now felt tangible. A junior executive, Ethan Wells, his Rolex watch prominently displayed, leaned forward with a smirk. "What's with the second-hand style? Did you get that shirt from your mother?" Ethan Wells rose, his Rolex catching the light as he gestured towards Alina's sketches, his expression mocking. "What are these? Are these illustrations from a children's book?" he announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I've seen more impressive artwork at my child's preschool." The executives reacted with derision, one discarding a crumpled napkin towards her portfolio, exclaiming, "Frame that masterpiece." Ethan moved nearer, his voice laced with mockery, asking, "You believed you'd make an impression? Stick to knitting, sweetheart." Mobile phones were raised, documenting her blurred sketch, their laughter echoing as a unified sound. Alina's hand remained on her laptop, her expression resolute, yet the atmosphere became oppressive under their mockery, her dignity the focus of their amusement. A ripple of amusement, phones quietly raised, documented her simple trousers and worn flats. Alina remained still, her hands gently placed on her laptop, her eyes scanning the table. None of you have examined my proposal, she stated, her voice calm, nearly soft. You're evaluating me based on my appearance, not my abilities. You will later wish you had not. Victor's laughter was abrupt, like shattering glass. Regret, dear, we don't wager on inexperienced individuals. He gestured dismissively, rejecting her sketches without looking at them. Crystalis focuses on building empires, not small ventures. You have 5 minutes to present before we proceed to serious applicants. Sylvia smiled, tapping her pen, stressing the need for brevity, as qualified architects were awaiting review. The assembled group watched intently, anticipating a misstep, their murmurs reflecting skepticism. Alina nodded calmly and opened her laptop, the screen displaying a faint flicker due to its age. She commenced, her voice even, detailing a resort that integrated nature with luxury, solar lattices powering infinity pools, rainwater systems nourishing vertical gardens. Her sketches, displayed on the screen, were stunning, each line a tribute to the earth. However, the executives showed little interest. Ethan used his phone, Sylvia examined her nails, and Victor cut her off mid-presentation. That's enough, he stated, his tone uninterested. This is a dream, not a plan. We need scope, not artisanal details. As Alina started her pitch, the executives became more assertive, their comments blending into a harsh chorus. One woman, wearing a silk blazer, questioned, "Is she truly using that laptop?" It appeared antiquated, prompting gasps and laughter. A man carelessly discarded a sugar packet from the coffee tray, observing its descent near her drawings. "Add some style, dear," he taunted as others applauded, calling, "Go back to the suburbs." Smartphones captured everything, their cameras unforgiving, presenting Alina as naive. She continued speaking, her voice clear, but their taunts overwhelmed her, a group enjoying what they perceived as her failure. Alina's eyes momentarily shifted, but her demeanor remained steady, a restrained intensity visible within. The rejection was immediate and harsh. Sylvia moved closer, her smile malicious. "You do not meet our requirements, Alina. Perhaps consider a local community center in the future." Ethan laughed, throwing a pen in the direction of her sketches. "Yes, focus on decorating lofts. Leave resorts to professionals." The pen traveled across her portfolio, blurring a sketch, and the room erupted in laughter, their voices cutting. Alina shut her laptop, her actions deliberate, and collected her documents. She remained silent, showed no reaction. Her gaze met Victor's, calm yet intense, as if she could see into his thoughts. While she organized her belongings, a junior executive named Lila Chen, her suit impeccably tailored and her confidence even more so, interjected. "Frankly, it takes courage to present yourself this way," she commented, her tone laced with condescension. "However, courage doesn't secure deals. Presentation is key and you're falling short." Lila Chun crossed her arms, her suit crisp and her tone direct, addressing Alina as if she were a child. "Look," she said, her voice carrying and precise, "it's charming that you attempted this. But this is Crystalis, not a startup incubator. You don't belong here." She gestured at Alina's shirt, which drew amused laughter. "Next time, perhaps hire a stylist or engage a professional firm." A man called out, "Or simply remain at home." His companions chuckled, one flicking a straw wrapper toward her table. "Recycle that pitch," he called, and the room immediately filled with noise. Alina carefully collected her sketches, her actions deliberate. However, their unkindness lingered, their phones sharing her embarrassment. She indicated Alina's clothing, which prompted further laughter. A man positioned at the table's far end, with his tie slightly undone, exclaimed, "Wager she's here for the complimentary coffee." The room erupted in laughter. Their phones were now recording, capturing her old laptop and a sketch with smudges, portraying her as an object of ridicule. Alina rose, her portfolio held securely, and offered a quiet smile. "Thank you for your time," she said, her voice soft but resonant. She retrieved her phone, her fingers steady, and initiated the call. The room grew quieter, the occupants observing despite their attempts at nonchalance. "Honey," she said, her tone warm yet distinct, "they disapproved of my design." Perhaps I ought to present it to Novaland instead. She waited, paying attention to the response, then nodded. All right, see you soon. The executives looked at one another, their expressions changing. Victor moved closer, his forehead creased. Novaland, he stated, his voice sharp. What's that supposed to mean? Alina remained silent, her expression unchanged, as she placed her phone into her pocket. The boardroom doors opened, and a man entered, tall and impeccably dressed in a black suit tailored to perfection. His dark hair was neatly swept back, and his gray eyes surveyed the room with a predator's calm. This was Julian Sterling, the billionaire founder of Sterling Ventures, a $100 million fund capable of influencing markets with minimal effort. A palpable shift in the atmosphere signaled his arrival. Julian moved with purpose, traversing the room without a sound, disregarding the expressions of the executives. His gaze settled on Alina, briefly displaying warmth, and he halted near her, his hand lightly touching hers. The room fell silent, pens clattering to the floor, tablets left untouched. Victor's smirk disappeared, his complexion losing color. Sylvia's diamonds appeared lackluster, her assurance faltering. Julian's phone fell from his grasp, striking the table with a sharp sound. Julian addressed the room, his voice low and resonant, like a storm. I've decided to invest only in companies that treat my wife with respect. He stated, you just lost your opportunity. A heavy silence fell over the room, followed by a sudden uproar. Victor rose quickly, stammering, Mr. Sterling, we didn't know. Sylvia interrupted, her voice sharp. This is a misunderstanding. Ethan appeared flustered. We were simply being honest. Julian did not acknowledge them. His gaze remained fixed on Alina, who stood calmly, her portfolio still held in her arms. She didn't need to say anything. Her mere presence was sufficient, a silent strength that revealed their harshness. Phones vibrated, screens illuminating as an email arrived in every inbox at the table. The subject line was striking. Novaland secures exclusive contract with Alina Moore. The message itself was concise and impactful. Novaland, Crystallis Group's fiercest rival, had unexpectedly exited the Maldives bidding process, adopting Alina's design as their premier project. Her sketches, which had been ridiculed only moments earlier, now formed the core of a $2 billion agreement, fully supported by Sterling Ventures. All attention shifted to Alina, with expressions of surprise, remorse, and apprehension visible on onlookers' faces. The boardroom erupted in disarray as Julian's words took effect, Victor's complexion paling, his crimson tie seeming to tighten. Phones vibrated with pressing calls, investors withdrawing funds, stocks decreasing 10% within minutes. Sylvia's diamonds shook as she hesitated, her tablet displaying postponed meetings, her connections dissolving. Ethan's Rolex appeared excessive, his confidence diminished as his firm's worth plummeted, rumors of audits spreading. The Novaland email appeared more intensely, Alina's name now prominent, her sketches gaining popularity as brilliant. The Crystallis Empire, founded on presumption, fractured because of her understated honesty, their reputation lost due to their own actions. She advanced, her footfall soft on the marble floor, and confronted the room. I did not come here seeking a contract, she stated, her voice composed and direct. I came because I expected to be afforded professional courtesy. She hesitated, allowing the statement to resonate, her hazel eyes scanning the table. You decided to evaluate me based on my attire, not my abilities. That proved to be your error. Victor Crane stood, his crimson tie a sharp contrast as he waved Alina off, his voice carrying. We're done here, he declared, interrupting her pitch. You're wasting our time with this vision board nonsense. He smirked, indicating her portfolio. Take your drawings and leave. We require successful individuals, not fantasizers. The room erupted in applause, one executive calling out, consider a craft fair, as another playfully tossed a coffee stirrer at her laptop, adding, modernize that old machine. Derisive comments circulated quickly, broadcast on internal chats, dismissing her as unsuccessful. Alina shut her portfolio, maintaining a composed expression, though their derision felt like a sharp cut with each comment. She turned, carrying her portfolio, with Julian beside her, his hands offering support on her back. The executive team reacted with a flurry of activity, their voices merging. Victor called out, "Alina, let's discuss this." Sylvia's heels tapped as she rose. "We might change our decision." Alina proceeded without hesitation, offering no farewell. The doors shut definitively behind her, the sound echoing like a conclusive judgment. The boardroom remained in a state of chaos, Crystalis's future uncertain, and Crystalis stock dropped sharply within hours. News reports declared, "Blunder costs Crystalis 2 billion, board resigns." As evening arrived, the executives confronted the consequences. Victor was removed from his position by the board, his reputation tarnished within real estate circles, his confident expression now a fading recollection. Sylvia's firm terminated her contract, clients referencing questionable decision-making. Her diamonds were pawned by the end of the month. Lila's startup pitch was rejected, investors withdrawing support following the widespread dissemination of videos showcasing her insults. Ethan's hedge fund failed. His Rolex sold to settle outstanding debts. The hashtag erased Ethan gained worldwide popularity. Their mistreatment of Alina, initially a source of amusement, ultimately led to their downfall, with each individual now associated with her success, and her vision becoming a guiding light for Novaland's ascent. Several individuals withdrew, board members submitted their resignations, and the Maldives project, formerly envisioned as their lasting achievement, ultimately became Novaland's success. Alina and Julian entered the elevator, the cityscape extending beneath them. He regarded her, his voice low, "You all right?" She returned a smile, her eyes reflecting the light, always. No further explanation was necessary. Their connection, subtle yet resolute, conveyed more than any agreement ever could. The elevator moved downwards, creating a sense of disorientation, Crystalis's descent resonating, Alina's perception growing stronger, her reality a clear and undeniable force. If this narrative evoked an emotional response, please leave a comment, and subscribe for further content. The moment she entered, she was dismissed. Her appearance was striking, a wrinkled oatmeal-colored dress, scuffed leather shoes, and hair loose down her back. An actress turned, speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Seriously? Appearing at the prestigious casting looking like that?" She proceeded into the casting room, and the director's voice erupted, "Oh my God! Are you mocking me? This is an insult. Get her out. Out." Despite the commotion, only one sentence was needed. The statement hung in the air, leaving the entire room utterly still. This was the final casting for Noble, a celebrated fragrance brand staging its initial return in 10 years, with a worldwide campaign filmed by Ethan Cole, the famously demanding director known for several Academy Award-winning art films. The central concept? Nobility. Not in a traditional aristocratic meaning, but something more profound. Something timeless. Auditions were taking place in Manhattan, at the top of the modern glass building belonging to Noble Corporation. Only 30 actresses were invited, carefully selected from thousands nationwide. These women represented the elite, Golden Globe recipients, established talents, and popular figures in the media. Ellie Harper, however, seemed out of place, or so it appeared. She was an unknown, lacking a stylist or support team, and arrived wearing a simple dress, accompanied by a manager relying on a feeling and harboring a secret that would dramatically alter the situation. The casting took place on the top floor of the Noble Corporation's modern Manhattan skyscraper. Ellie Harper followed her manager, Claire Dawson, into the room and was almost overwhelmed by the brightness. The space was filled with well-known actors, with only a few unfamiliar faces present. The event's theme was nobility, so attendees were dressed in elaborate attire, including designer gowns, sparkling jewels, and impeccably styled hair. The majority of the attendees were familiar with one another, engaging in brief greetings and professional introductions. Those less acquainted sought opportunities to compliment prominent figures, and the room resonated with animated conversation. When Ellie entered the doorway, an abrupt stillness fell over the space. It wasn't due to recognition, no one knew her name, but rather because, in contrast to the well-known attendees adorned with diamonds, she seemed strikingly out of place. Some might have described her appearance as unconventional. Her dress was a simple, somewhat faded oatmeal-colored shift, and her brown leather shoes showed signs of wear and scuffing. She wore no jewelry, no makeup, and her chestnut hair flowed in loose, unbound waves down her back. The room was crowded with Hollywood's elite, and after a moment of surprised looks, they made no effort to conceal their disapproval. They didn't even quiet their voices as they openly criticized her directly. The question arose, who was this? Some whispered she appeared to have just emerged from a dumpster. Others wondered if she was lost. An actress made a dismissive expression. Another exclaimed, absolutely not. She's represented by Claire Dawson, the former manager of Vanessa Lane. Everyone recognized Claire, the highly successful manager who had propelled Vanessa Lane to fame before Vanessa's sudden retirement. Seeing Claire with Ellie caused astonishment. Wait, that's Claire's latest client? The one she's promoting so heavily? Producer derided. Even without Vanessa, Claire's professional history shouldn't involve working at this level. Is Dawson's agency in such a difficult situation? It's hard to believe they can't afford a stylist, someone remarked. No, they're not without funds, they simply don't prioritize her, another responded. Disparaging comments arose. Vanessa damaged her career due to a relationship, and Claire was oblivious until Vanessa made the announcement. She was her manager, and didn't realize the situation until then. Yeah, Claire's career has declined, a voice added. The prominent talent at Dawson's agency is Monica Reed, not Claire. Just then, a rising star from Starlight Entertainment, Brooke Kendall, approached Claire with a saccharine smile that couldn't quite conceal her derision. Claire, you're bringing a new talent to the casting? She inquired, her gaze dismissively assessing Ellie's attire. Claire responded calmly, I signed her up impulsively. She successfully completed the preliminary rounds, so I thought it would be beneficial experience. Her voice was modest but resolute, a veiled display of Ellie's achievement in reaching this stage among the nation's leading actresses. Brooke's expression became condescending as she observed Ellie, shaking her head. Claire, no offense, but even a waitress wouldn't present themselves this way. Do you feel Vanessa's departure severely? If you are finding things difficult, abandon Dawson's agency and join my team. My assistant's compensation isn't substantial, but it's preferable to supporting someone of Ellie's profile. Starlight and Dawson's agency had been competitors for years, and Brooke harbored a personal resentment. Vanessa had overshadowed her at award shows on numerous occasions. She wasn't going to let a chance to challenge Claire pass her. The people nearby smiled, enjoying the unfolding situation. Another voice interjected, hey, I'm looking for assistance as well. Claire, would you be interested? Brooke laughed, pleased. Look at that, Claire is in high demand. No need to worry about going without. Ellie's gaze sharpened with a frigid look as Brooke embarrassed Claire. But Claire had cautioned her, regardless of what occurs, remain silent. Ellie located a peaceful spot, settled down, and shut her eyes, blocking out the surrounding sounds. Her purpose wasn't to argue. She was present to concentrate and discover the necessary emotion for the part. The audition commenced shortly thereafter. Ellie received a respectable number, 15 out of 30. Brooke, number 14, observed Ellie's number and released a theatrical sigh. Such a promising slot squandered on her. The initial actress, Mia Carson, entered. She was a force, a self-made star who had worked tirelessly to achieve a Golden Globe, lacking formal training or a privileged background. A palpable stillness fell over the room as she arrived. Her skill was unmistakable. Brooke, however, expressed skepticism. Honestly, she muttered, she's just a high school dropout from nowhere. How can she possibly succeed in Noble? Brooke herself wasn't from a family of actors, but her family possessed considerable wealth. Her father held a Senate position, her mother operated a high-end crocodile leather fashion brand, and she had been raised with refined manners. She received piano and calligraphy lessons, among other things. Today, she wore a dress valued higher than Noble's entire advertising budget, and her self-assurance was evident. Few could compare to her upbringing, despite some achieving similar levels of recognition. Mia appeared less than a minute later, her complexion pale. Her manager hurried to assist her, but Mia declined, appearing defeated. Her manager's shoulders slumped, though she stayed to comfort her. Brooke crossed her arms, smug. Knew it. What's a small-town girl gonna do with Noble? Other actresses with trust fund backgrounds echoed her, sneering as Mia, unable to bear the mocking stares, left the room. Even a Golden Globe couldn't shield her from the sting of their elitism. In her corner, Ellie cracked her eyes open, watching Mia's retreating figure with a flicker of regret. Mia's acting talent and existing fanbase suggested this advertisement would be a sure success. It was disappointing. The second actress, a coal heiress whose father had funded her career, performed even worse. The third, a Naipo baby with actor parents, lasted only 3 minutes. She was adequate but ultimately unsuitable. As actress after actress was considered, even the most established names failed to meet expectations. Tension filled the audition room, particularly as the director, Ethan Cole, could be heard criticizing them from behind the closed door. Ethan's American accent possessed a sharp quality, developed through years of working internationally. He wondered if his words were being understood, and he doubted their intelligence. He desired grace and refinement, not lifeless figures performing mechanically. He criticized Mia, stating that while her performance was convincing, her eyes revealed a lack of depth. She seemed ordinary, just another actress, a mere prop. He dismissed a third, acknowledging her talent but finding her far from ideal. She didn't match the image he held. And one prior to Brooke, that was the 13th person. She believes I am foolish. She possesses no understanding of the harp. The actresses outside, previously full of self-importance, lost color. Is this man genuine? He has criticized everyone, one whispered. He holds a resentment towards Americans, another complained. It is simply an advertisement. Why is he behaving as though we must be specialists? Does he anticipate that we should become proficient in everything? Brooke laughed derisively, flipping her hair. Only individuals lacking talent create justifications and fault the director. As number 14, she entered the casting room. When Brooke opened the door, Ethan's scowl lessened. She wore a vintage-inspired gown, adorned with pearls and emeralds, and her blonde hair was styled in an elegant updo with a jade hairpin. She wasn't simply noble, she was a vision of American glamour with a hint of timeless sophistication. Ethan's eyes brightened, and his tone grew warmer. Come on, my dear. Step closer. Let me see you. Brooke stood confidently, allowing him to assess her. Growing up in privileged environments, her every movement, her smile, her bearing, displayed innate elegance. There was no need for pretense. Ethan walked around her, acknowledging with nods. Very well, Brooke. Let's see what you can do. The casting room was filled with a variety of props. A grand piano, a calligraphy set, a chessboard, an embroidery stand, and a silk fan. Brooke's eyes focused on a harp. This one, she stated, lightly touching the strings. The harp presented a greater challenge than a piano, demanding complex technique. 7 pedals, 47 strings, a range of 6.5 octaves. Ethan, a culture buff who had studied American and European arts for decades, wasn't someone easily deceived by a superficial performance. One actress had previously attempted a deceptive performance and received criticism. Ethan raised a brow as Brooke selected the harp, displaying skepticism. However, as she commenced playing, his expression changed. Her fingers moved gracefully over the strings, producing a melody that was both subtle and powerful. Following her performance, Ethan hesitated to reject her immediately. This was unprecedented. He spent a considerable time discussing the matter with his assistant. Eventually, the assistant approached Brooke with courtesy. Ms. Kendall, we are still in the audition process, but could you please wait outside? We will inform you of our decision. The unspoken message was evident. They were impressed, but further evaluation was needed. Brooke responded with a pleasant smile. Certainly. Internally, she allowed a confident smirk. Who could possibly surpass her? The role was undoubtedly hers. As Brooke exited, a palpable excitement filled the room. She had been in there for almost 10 minutes, and instead of Ethan's typical shouting, they had heard the harp's delicate music. Brooke didn't retreat like the others. She sat down, composed, prepared to be summoned. It was clear. She had made the shortlist, possibly even secured the position. The other actresses' certainty lessened. The established performers didn't want to chance embarrassment. But the prestigious contract was too appealing to relinquish. "Number 15, you're up," the assistant announced. Ellie, still absorbed in her thoughts, remained still. Claire, seated next to her, didn't intervene. She understood Ellie needed this time. Brooke, noticing Ellie in her view, felt compelled to speak. "Claire, I'm not intending to be unkind, but why select her? Starlight dismissed her for a reason. Are you genuinely allowing her to audition in that state? If she performs poorly, it reflects not just on you, but on your entire agency." Brooke's words directed all attention to Ellie. The room shifted, with some actresses quietly laughing. Targeted as the recipient of their criticism, perhaps they wouldn't appear so unfavorable compared to Brooke. Several, however, remained silent, questioning whether Ellie's disheveled look was a calculated choice, a hidden tactic. Perhaps she would change before entering. "Claire, I'm ready," Ellie said quietly, opening her eyes. Claire nodded. "You can do it. Number 15, let's go," the assistant repeated. Amidst a wave of doubtful gazes, Ellie rose, adjusted her dress, and proceeded calmly to the casting room. The moment she vanished inside, the room erupted in whispers. "Is she really going in like that?" One actress murmured. "I had anticipated a hidden strategy, but it seemed she was auditioning as if she were down on her luck. Ethan is going to be furious. She's in serious trouble. Perhaps it's better not to know." Then, Ethan's voice boomed through the doorway. "Are you insulting me, insulting Noble? Get out." Brooke took a drink of juice given to her by her assistant, a smile playing on her lips. "That went better than I thought." Why proceed when failure is inevitable, clinging to the hope of an unexpected outcome? She retrieved her phone and initiated a call. "Hey, Savannah. Brooke, are you finished? How did it proceed?" Savannah's voice was even and comforting. "Exceptional, as expected," Brooke, she responded with a hint of confidence. The initial 13 actresses presented challenges, but the remainder? They were no match. "You are guaranteed success." "Of course you would succeed," Savannah laughed. "Thank you for making way, dear. This opportunity would have rightfully been yours. Please don't exaggerate. I've assisted you before, such as securing a partnership between your father's company and my mother's brand last month. Minor things. You won't believe who I just saw." "Who?" "Your foster sister, Ellie Harper, the country bumpkin." "What? How did she get into a Noble casting?" "I have no idea what fortunate circumstances she encountered to succeed in the prelims, but it was amusing to watch. The theme is nobility, and she appeared as if she lives under a bridge." "She's lost it," Savannah laughed. "Absolutely. Avoiding interaction with her is wise. She is creating a difficult situation for herself. Regardless, I must leave. I'll speak with you when I have cause for celebration." Within the casting room, Ethan's anger encountered Ellie's composure. She remained present, undisturbed, her clear, hazel eyes meeting his. A quality in her gaze, sincere and resolute, caused him to hesitate, as if he were the one who didn't belong. Her attire was unremarkable. It was simply quite understated compared to the others' elaborate appearances. The dress, though used, was tidy and clean. Her unadorned face, gentle and simple, evoked a line of verse for him, like a lotus blooming purely from the water, free from embellishment. Yet her apparent lack of preparation felt like a rebuke. "You, I'm speaking to you. Do you not understand English? You are dismissed. Please leave now. Do not waste anyone else's time," Ethan stated, too frustrated to even inquire about her name. While he scolded, Ellie moved toward the harp Brooke had used. Her fingers lightly touched the strings, producing a few notes. Ethan's anger intensified. He paused, intending to continue. However, a sudden rush of sound halted him. The musical phrases flowed, complex and resonant. This is Shenandoah?" he questioned, surprised. It was recognized as a difficult American folk composition for harp, a poignant tune deeply connected to the country's identity. Brooke had performed a less complicated classical selection. Ellie remained silent. She was positioned at the harp, her fingers moving with accuracy. The music grew, captivating Ethan. He disregarded his frustration, forgot to speak, and was absorbed by the melody's richness. Shenandoah stood as a cornerstone of American music, its notes reflecting themes of longing, resilience, and quiet strength. It resonated beyond beauty. It pulsed with defiance, a narrative of perseverance through hardship. Ellie's performance wasn't merely skilled, it embodied the song's essence. Ethan watched, stunned. Her clothes were ragged, her face bare, but as she played, no one could mistake her for anything less than extraordinary. She wasn't insignificant, she was a force, her story interwoven into every note. As the final chord concluded, Ethan remained silent. Following a considerable interval, he composed himself, his voice lowered. That, "Your Shenandoah, it surpassed all my expectations." Ellie responded, nodding subtly, her face exhibiting no change. His perception of her composure, whether confronted with his criticisms or his accolades, impressed him. It wasn't a display of arrogance, it was something more profound, a grace appearing to emanate from within her. This was nobility. It wasn't the kind derived from money or status, but the kind built within, resilient even in poverty. He observed her, his anticipation increasing. None of the others, not even Brooke, had resonated with him in the same way. Brooke's presentation, as flawless as it seemed, felt practiced and insincere. But Ellie? She possessed genuine substance. He cleared his throat and inquired further. "Tell me, how do you understand nobility?" The others had provided standard responses, education, refinement, poise, which were dependable but lacking inspiration. He leaned forward, wanting to hear Ellie's opinion. She hesitated, carefully selecting her words. Genuine nobility isn't defined by the display of wealth or the importance of a lineage. It's not about jewelry or a perfect appearance. It's not even the knowledge or etiquette one shows off to make an impression. True nobility is when you're wearing a simple dress, your hair disheveled, yet your inner light shines through, unmistakable. Ethan's eyes widened, his face practically glowing. Ellie continued, "Noble's campaign is about fragrance, right? A fragrance can communicate more about an individual than any elaborate outfit. For a woman, perfume embodies her identity. It holds greater significance than clothing. It possesses enduring quality, unlike fleeting trends such as jewelry or hairstyles. A truly exceptional fragrance remains memorable." Ethan reacted immediately. "Yes, absolutely." He nodded emphatically. Her statement perfectly captured the campaign's core message. Outside, the waiting actresses overheard Ethan's immediate reaction, then a moment of quiet, followed by the harp's uplifting melody. One actress remarked, "Did Claire prepare her with a harp trick? After Brooke's performance, that's just embarrassing." Another, more perceptive, frowned. "That piece sounds harder than Brooke's, but it won't matter." Brooke, who knew her harps, felt a flicker of unease at the technical skill echoing from the room, but she brushed it off. "Claire, your little project doesn't get it. The harp's elegant, performers bathe, dress impeccably, respect the tradition. She's disrespecting the art itself. Ethan's gonna tear her apart." The others nodded. Claire remained silent, observing the door. Ellie hadn't been dismissed yet. That was step one, but her strategy was risky, and Claire wasn't certain how it would be received. When the music ceased, there was no yelling. The wait felt longer than Brooke's audition. "What's happening in there?" An actress murmured, pacing. "He's likely reprimanding her so severely he's lost track of time. Ethan is a top-tier director. He's ruthless. This could damage Claire's whole agency." Ethan retrieved Ellie's file from his assistant, quickly reviewing it. His eyes widened. "Ellie Harper. Wait, you're Cassandra Reed?" "Cassandra? Yes, that was my first film role," Ellie stated. Claire had sent clips from Legacy, so he wasn't surprised he recognized the name. However, his enthusiasm appeared considerable. Ellie continued, "The moment I saw Cassandra, I was captivated. I need to see that film in theaters. When's it out?" Ethan's regret was noticeable. He nearly didn't recognize her, as her usual appearance differed significantly from her on-screen image. Ellie offered a polite smile. Still in post-production, likely a month away. She added, "Thank you for the kind words." "No, you deserve it," Ethan exclaimed. In Legacy, Cassandra was portrayed as a villain, but her powerful and seemingly unapproachable demeanor was precisely what he'd been seeking. Ellie's performance today only validated that. "I'm so sorry, Ellie. I was mistaken, almost sent you away." She replied, "You're right. Genuine heritage extends beyond appearance." He guided her to a presentation of distinguished perfumes. For 2 centuries, these perfumes have been created using time-honored methods and the world's most exceptional components. It's the scent of authentic aristocracy. I am pleased to lead this campaign, but I required someone who could represent that ideal. Fortunately, I found you. This partnership will be flawless. His assistant cleared his throat, murmuring, "Sir, others remain. Should we proceed to the next candidate?" Ethan dismissed him with a gesture. "There is no need. Ellie is our ambassador. Please dismiss the rest." Outside, the door finally opened. The assistant emerged, addressing the crowd. "Ladies, we have selected Ellie as our ambassador. The casting is complete. As a token of our gratitude, we are gifting everyone a 3-day luxury cruise. Enjoy." The room fell silent. Actresses who had not auditioned stared in disbelief. "What? It's finished? We didn't even get an audition." It was disappointing, but most weren't shocked. The leading actresses breathed a sigh of relief. They avoided any embarrassment. A wave of congratulations washed over Brooke. "Well done, Brooke. If it's you, I'm not mad." Brooke rose, enjoying the accolades, and moved towards the assistant. "Thank you, Ethan, for the opportunity. I won't let him down." The assistant seemed puzzled. No, there's been a misunderstanding. It's not Ms. Kendall." A collective gasp rippled through the audience. Ethan selected Ellie Harper, number 15. "Ellie Harper? The one dressed like a bum?" Someone exclaimed. "You're joking, right?" Brooke's complexion visibly paled. "There's a mistake." Everyone was talking about Ellie Harper, the relatively unknown contestant. She had already mentioned the news to Savannah. The thought of losing to Ellie? It was simply unacceptable. The assistant confirmed with a firm nod. There was no error. It was Ms. Harper, number 15. Brooke's voice trembled with anger. This felt unjust. They deserved an explanation. The assistant expressed resignation. "It's Ethan's decision. I am unable to alter it." "Then allow me to speak with him," Brooke insisted. Others whispered, questioning whether the assistant had made a mistake with the announcement. Even Claire appeared shocked. The assistant finally agreed. "I'll pass this on." He returned promptly. Ethan said, "Ms. Kendall, when you see the advertisement, you'll understand why we selected Ellie." He turned to Claire. "Ms. Dawson, Ethan would like you to come in to discuss the contract." Claire, still absorbing the information, nodded. "Thank you." She followed him inside, leaving Brooke visibly embarrassed and the others speechless. "No way. Ellie Harper? We lost to her?" "I was going to say, she's Claire's client. There's no way she's that uncomplicated. We underestimated them. Consider Ellie a surprise." Brooke must be feeling the pressure. First, Vanessa had control, and now Claire is working with a new talent. During the return trip, Claire observed Ellie, who was enjoying a hot dog. It was her first meal since preparing for the casting. The more Claire collaborated with her, the less certain she appeared. "You okay?" Ellie asked, with her mouth full, noticing Claire's gaze. "Feeling fortunate to have a brilliant client like me?" Claire laughed. "I thought your approach was dangerous. Ethan is knowledgeable, he might have detected any deception. Regarding that harp, you played remarkably well. That requires years of practice." Ellie almost laughed until she choked. "Years?" Claire responded, "You're being overly generous. I learned it in a month, and it's the only piece I know. I memorized it by rote. My intention was purely to impress." Claire blinked, visibly amused and disbelieving. "Seriously?" Ellie confirmed, raising a finger. "I experiment with various instruments. Harp, piano, whatever. I learned just enough to manage, but I'm certainly no expert." Acknowledging that lengthy dedication can lead to focusing on fundamental principles and then proceeding, Claire shook her head, smiling. You're quite remarkable. As the city lights passed by, Ellie took another bite of her hot dog, seemingly unaffected by the day's events. She had entered a room filled with challenging individuals, allowed them to challenge her, and ultimately succeeded. This wasn't driven by a need to demonstrate her superiority, but because she possessed a strong sense of self, which was sufficient. Please enjoy this story, and consider sharing it with others, leaving a comment, and subscribing for more thrilling content.